Setting up to burn screens. This is one of those things that you're going to learn as you go, and a little bit of trial and error, and with the experience, what your experience is, and what you're printing on, and the type of press, designs, all that kind of stuff. But there are some basic guidelines, and right now this grid matches the same grid that is on the automatic press that surrounds and snaps onto the pallets. So whatever we square up on this grid should be square or pretty close when we put it on the automatic press. That way we don't run into problems of hitting the side, not being able to get it registered because it's canted off to the side too much, or squeegee is going to hit the front of the screen. So we use this to center everything. When we burn the screens though, the problem that people have is not knowing what mesh count everything goes on. So what I've done years ago is I made a decision tree that can help your decision as to whether it's on lights or darks, if it's an underbase, if it's a one color, multicolor, halftones, all kind of stuff to help you go through and understand what mesh count everything goes on. But I'm going to set up a two-color design here so you get the basics. Main image area, the top of the print is right here. This is a no print zone. All this, anything higher than that is not going to print on the press, and it's a bad location on the shirt. So generally everything is lined up to the edge here. So if I were to take this design, I'm going to put the top at the edge. I'm going to square it left and right, make sure it's not tilted using crosshairs or something straight on the design. This design doesn't have anything straight, so I'm going to use the crosshairs to make sure it's straight and not tilted. And then I'll use the lines or the grid on the counter here to make sure it's lined up straight. This is going to be a white underbase, and then I'm going to use this as the color for the top. The white underbase, because it has the most on it, I'm going to use that to line up all the other screens. So this one's set. I'm going to line this one up. I do this away from the image. Sometimes it creates pinholes. Line this up as if you're going to line it up on screen. Make sure it's set. The top, because this is a white underbase and a color top, the top is going to be on a 200 mesh, and the underbase could either be on a 200 mesh or 156. I'm going to put that on 156 though. So when I lay this over, I want to go easy because just the drift or the air drifting from the screen could change it. I want to center this and get it lined up before I put it down in place. Rub it down, and it's on screen. So the image is always going to be upside down on the screen as I put it on there. It's the image is touching the screen. If it's up the other way, you're going to get a mirror image and it's not going to work. This thing goes into the exposure unit. So we can take this over here. Exposure unit. Every emulsion is going to be a little bit different. This one is called Coat It All. So I know what the measurement is. I want to make sure that this flap is in here. This protects this. This is about a $400 or $500 bladder. We want to protect this. So we use one of the old ones in there. It's just so it doesn't get any sharp corners or anything. Always have to make sure these little bleeder valves are over the intake and then underneath the screen. Once that's centered in there, keep these away from the corners. Set this down nice and easy. Lock it down. We're going to close off the valve. I know it needs to be 9 light units. It's a measurement of light, not seconds or minutes. It's a measurement of light. And this comes all the way up. I'll release the bleeder valve, just crack it a little bit. I want to keep it around 15 pounds. When it gets too high, it could actually crack the glass if our frames are warped a little bit. I hit start. Mercury bulb will turn on here in just a minute, and this will start counting down faster for the screen. During this time, I do not set out any other screens. I don't do any other work with setting up screens, but I can kind of get this ready here. So this one's taped down. I'm going to take off the tape, hold this in place. Get this ready. Just moved it. I don't like. Alright, so that's ready. I'm going to grab a 156 when this one's done, and we'll rinse this one out in just a minute. Anytime you can combine screens, a crest print with a big print, do that. You want to combine as much as you can without getting in the way of the other images. On here, this is at the top, as I mentioned earlier. If this were a narrow design, where it's just words, one word going across, I don't need to bring it all the way up. I can bring it down a little bit to help center it when it gets printed on the back of the shirt or the front. If I just keep it up here and it's one word, it's going to seem really high on the chest here or really high on the back. Alright, we'll let this finish exposing and then we'll show how to rinse them out.